I'm probably the one who is standing between you and the late night show that you had booked for the Saturday night. So, but I promise this is going to be awesome. Yeah, my show is going to be awesome. First of all, thanks to Lydia for getting my second name right. Most Indians don't get it, And the problem with my name is that the moment I start trying to tell my second name, they say, oh, are you a South Indian? And I'm like, yes. How did you figure it out? Your second name says that. Okay, great. I'm sure my kids won't have that problem in the future. Let me begin. In September 2008, I dropped out of college. I was studying in National University of Singapore, where I went on a government scholarship from the Singapore government. I grew up in a small town in Tamil Nadu. I was the first in my family to have a passport, to have boarded a flight, to have gone abroad, and all that. And I decided to drop out for not a big reason. I just thought that life was getting too comfortable. My parents were shocked. Initially, my mother did not understand what dropping out was. She actually thought, why did they expel you from the university? Did you do something wrong? And I said, that's not it. My father, who was the more cleverer of the two, said, son, if you had gone to Stanford and dropped out, that would have been cool. Dropping out Singapore was not cool. Right? And so the conversation then went to, what are you planning to do for the next 1 year? And I said, well, I'm going to volunteer with this microfinance organization based out of Hyderabad and working pan-India, just volunteering. And that's when the conversation became serious. My father said something. He said, so you think you can change the world? You think you can save the system? Trust me, I have been doing this for 35 years, fighting against the system, and I haven't been able to do anything. My father used to be a trade union activist. He used to be working for the better labor wages of textile industry in South India, and he had grown up to become a cynic. What shocked me was I had no idea of creating a change in the system. I wasn't looking to save the world, nor was I trying to be the change that I wanted to see in the world. I was just the same 20-year-old that most 20-year-olds in this country say, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. So here I was. I managed to land a job with 2 Americans as my bosses. The best part about Americans is that they have a nice way of telling that you are bullshitting. So, so the prerequisite for this job was that I be fluent in 2 languages, Telugu and Hindi, languages that I barely understood at that time. And I told my boss, like any self-respecting Indian does, I'm perfectly fluent in both. He didn't quite get it. And his way of telling me was, you know what, I don't believe you, but I trust you. That's the way they say it, So my job involved going around the country, talking to our microfinance clients, trying to understand what impact these loans have had in their lives. The discussion that I had, my father had ended at that time, but the conversation continued to linger on. So here I was traveling around. There was a lot of hype and romanticism and demonism about microfinance. So I was just going around with survey forms trying to understand what the impact was. And that was the first time I came face to face with what being poor or what poverty meant. When the moment we say the word poor, the problem is we attach adjectives to it. The lazy poor, the dependent poor, the crippled poor, the poor need our sympathy, And the moment I was on the field, the adjectives that came to my face were totally different. The entrepreneurial poor, or probably the poor who are just content, or the poor who are just funny, who are just quirky, and who are happy with their lives. So this whole idea of us versus them began to cease the very day. And I realized that if there were going to be lazy poor, there's going to be a lazy middle class, there's going to be the lazy rich, right? So adjectives hold for everyone. What I also learned around the same time was The system had failed, right? 450 million people in our country have never seen a light bulb in their lives. And this is not about 8-hour power cuts. This is about light bulb never seen in their lives. This is in Baripada, rural Orissa, where it's a tribal area. And the irony is, it's not about inaccessibility, remote villages, decentralized grid, and all that talk that the government feeds you. 7 kilometers away from this particular village is this particular power plant that provides electricity to entire Jharkhand, parts of West Bengal, and northern Orissa. And this entire village, supposedly electrified, wasn't. The system had failed. This is a representative picture, but this was a poignant one in the sense I happened to witness women and children carrying water in what looked like jerry cans. And the problem with that was it smelled different. And I asked them, what did you use these cans for? Just a week before, they had used the same cans to buy the kerosene from the PDS system. And here they were using the same cans to fill water. And I asked them a particular question, why do you want to do it? I mean, it's not safe. And they said, water is water. You get it only when you get it. Probably, I think the ones who are more foresighted than the Arabs would be the rural India guys who understand what it means for water. And the irony was, there were systems built by foreign aid organizations with all good intentions, but seemingly not working. There was a problem somewhere. Now the third one, this was in Tamil Nadu, the most interesting one. Here is a house that's thatched roof, that's not, that doesn't have a water connection, that doesn't have a toilet, but has a television and has a DTH. Right? And I asked them, how did you manage? I mean, how does it work? You see, the government gives them a scheme, a subsidy of 2,600 rupees to build a toilet. And it has to be built according to certain government specifications. And these guys did not want that. They said that that's ridiculous, that's useless. How can you build a toilet in 2,600 rupees? So they basically bribe a few rupees to the commissioning agent who approves that the toilet has been built, and they get their 2,000 rupees. Now the irony is the government also provides free television, right? So you have a television at home, what else? And you have 2,000 rupees. And now you decide, do you want to build a toilet or you want to get a DTH and have connection, right? You choose the one that makes sense to you. So even when system had the best intentions, somewhere things were going wrong. But it wasn't all about, depressing stories or stories that weren't happening. The solutions were there, and the solutions were coming from ground up. People were figuring out, this was my story from Varanasi, where using 500 rupees, they had bought a solar light that provides them lighting for 4 hours every night, and they did not have to spend 15 rupees for kerosene or the 45 rupees in black market for getting the other 2 liters. Here is a community health worker who teaches basic health education. She's an illiterate, she was trained in the community, and that's another product of water filter that costs it's very low cost. So there were solutions coming out. What was also interesting was the way these solutions got implemented. When you're lucky, you get what you transport your goods from using the left one, which is a proper logistics vehicle and all that stuff. But 9 out of 10 times you use the horse carts to take the stuff, be it your grains, be it your lights, be it whatever. And that's what one of our speakers had earlier said, called Jugaad. They figure out stuff. What was also incredible to me was the community got involved when there was ownership involved. When people got an opportunity to have toilets built according to their own needs, they contributed with labor so that they could reduce their costs. The local electricians and others were involved in installing solar lights when there was ownership involved at a household level. This was a makeshift garage where the unemployed youth are undergoing vocational training because they knew that if they could go through these training programs, they would get a job in a retail sector or in a rural BPO. The biggest thing about this is an opportunity. And when opportunity was mixed with sense of ownership, that was when things started to change. That was when, people decided what was good for them and they went about doing it. And what it also does, it creates that awareness, it creates that dignity. So this was a community built program where they said, how do you defecate, right? It's a very simple question, but visual representations like this came from the community themselves. There was no government involved, there were no foreign aid organizations or a top-down approach. It was all built from the community. So I came back after 1 year, back to Singapore, and I wanted to be part of this movement in some way or other. And I said, why don't we raise some money and start getting things done on the ground. So I came down and I asked my friends to chip in some money so that I could start a pilot project. My friends were at first nice, but essentially what they were trying to tell me was, this charity is great, but it doesn't really appeal to us after a point in time. I don't know where my money is going. It's a big black box. I don't know how much is going, who gets benefited, and there is a whole fatigue. If I start giving once, there's a whole fatigue. What essentially turned as an interpretation was charity alleviates an immediate suffering, but there is never going to be an end to suffering in this world. What was required was not just charity, but philanthropy, thinking through strategically how could your few dollars build a lifelong solution. The second one was personal connection. You wanted to build something that went beyond financial transactions. You wanted to make it something that you could identify with and engage with. And that's when we believe giving becomes not just giving, but engaged giving. So how do we went about doing this? So we said, the first one, 100% of your money will go to the end person, the project that you want to support. And this was a tricky choice because most of the way fundraising does is there is a part of the money that goes to the end expenses, admin expenses, and part of it goes to the programs. The only ones who do this kind of stuff is the organizations in US like Charity Water and Robin Hood Foundation, who are super big. And here we were, a bunch of kids trying to figure this out. And we realized that it was possible. The guy that I am trying to help out at the end of the day is building a business model. He is building an economics saying that I will be able to pay back. Now, it would be hypocritical for me not to build a business model, but rely on donations and grants. So that's where we said we'll have 2 bank accounts, 100% of your money would go to the end person, as much as also absorbing the credit card, debit card fees, and we would get private funding until we become sustainable. The second one was proof. This was something that was the one that was addressed before. Most people didn't know how their money was being spent. And we said we would make it completely transparent, telling you where the money goes, how is it being spent, who gets it, what are the loans. You can see the person and you know the terms, and also you would get frequent updates. The third one was everyone. So when we started doing this, a lot of people advised us against building a crowdfunding model. They said, are you crazy? Why do you want to get into the effort of trying to engage people, give small amounts? Why don't you go to the big guys, raise a few $1 million and get it off the ground? But the purpose wasn't just about implementing things on the ground. The important thing that drove us was also about changing the way Indians thought about giving. 10 years back, a site called Make My Trip came into existence, and it changed the way Indians started traveling. 4 years back, a site called Flipkart came into existence, and it changed the way Indians shopped. 2 years back, a site called Snapdeal came, and it changed the way Indians experience their social lives. And I said, why can't that be for giving? We want to change the way India thinks about giving. And that would be possible only if you involve and build a brand. Now, brand is a dirty word in the not-for-profit space, simply because people don't want to spend money on marketing. People don't want to spend money on other stuff. We said we are going to go mainstream, which means internet culture, pop cultural references, whatever it takes, people should get the identity. So that's a line from a popular viral hit song, which goes, "Hand la glass la mud, eyes full la tear," which is a viral song that went and has 50 million hits in the YouTube. And so it began in 2010. We went raising money in Singapore. We did a small fundraiser, raised around $3,000, quickly went to Osmanabad in southern Maharashtra, and we invested in 20 small entrepreneurs who are basically doing healthcare related products, solar related products, and so on. Over a period of a year, when the pilot went in, they saw a 7x increase in their income. And this was like, this is great. Let's tell the information back to our lenders. And we told our lenders, hey, what? The money has come back, and here's your money. Most of them were like, what money? Because we organized it in a pub, and people just gave whatever it was. What are you talking about? And I said, hey, you gave this money. It's actually not a donation. It's a loan. They have paid you back. This is the progress. And they were like, this is awesome. How else can we be part of it? And I said, I don't know. And that's when the idea came in, when 4 employees of Barclays, they said, you know what? We don't do great things in Barclays. We basically trade and sell and make money. We also do cycling, by the way. Can we do cycling for a cause? And I said, wow, this is great, because we are just a network of small people. Now we led people to fundraise. They set an initial goal of $1,200, and I was like, good luck. Nobody knows Milaap, and you're going to raise $1,200. They raised $5,300. And that's when, and that was the first lesson that I learned with Milaap. It's not about Milaap that people are giving. They are giving it for 2 reasons. One, that end person that they want to see improve his life, and 2, the friend who is bugging them to put that dollars. So people started running marathons. People started celebrating their birthdays in honor of us. People even climbed Kanchenjunga in honor of us, and so on. 5,000 lives is what we have been able to touch in the past 1 year. But 5,000 lives is a golf clap. This is a country of 1 billion people. And when you're talking about 1 billion people, the closest benchmark you have to say, I'm going to impact 1 million lives. Otherwise, it's useless for people like us trying to build a sustainable venture. Couple of things that we have learned along the way: guilt versus opportunity. A lot of fundraising happens around guilt. I still remember my first conversation when I had come back from Singapore. A friend was celebrating this lavish buffet, which was like $40. And I said, $40, that's the amount that people in Ethiopia spend for the entire month. And that was the last time I spoke to that friend. Rather look at it as, here is a guy who is willing to put in $40 for a buffet, and why don't you add that 10% so that someone in Ethiopia will have some food, right? Think about the opportunity, not the guilt. Broadcast your failure. It's not romanticism. We never talk about alleviating poverty. We'll never be able to alleviate poverty. We keep it very real. We keep it very grounded. And the most important thing here is, this is one of the examples. We were trying to ship the solar lights. Those were the solar chargers that were supposed to be there, and we got PVC pipes instead, right? And it's a failure. What we said was, we went to the crowd and we said, look guys, we failed. We lost few of your dollars in the process, and we'll figure out a way to absorb these losses. And a lot of them wrote back to us saying, don't worry about it. We'll give you the same money again. Now, it's important to be very honest. And the last thing is, your story, not short and sweet, your story in a tweet. I've seen a number of world-saving causes talking about how poverty alleviation and global warming and all that stuff. Our story is very simple. 100 million households in this country just need an access to opportunity. And with $25 or 1,000 rupees, you will be able to change that. Keep it very simple. Last, remember the conversation that I had with my father, right? I had always thought about that. And I was like, why am I doing this, right? And the thing that I learned over a period of time was, I'm not a change maker. I didn't set out to change the world. I didn't set out to save anyone. I'm just doing this because my fulfillment and my liberation is bound with the work that I do. That's it. And that's the reason why people are putting in those 1,000 rupees and 5,000 rupees, because they get fulfilled, they get liberated as an action of that. And that's a quote that I love the most. If you're come to save me, you're wasting your time. But if your liberation is bound up with mine, then let's work together.